So the Rotary E-Club of Raleigh International is truly international because two of our founding directors, Peter and David, were both born overseas. David Howard was born in Scotland and he emigrated to the US after completing his PhD in biochemistry. His career focused on drug development in both animal health and human medicine. David's been a Rotarian for over 20 years and has served as club president for two clubs, assistant governor in District 7710, and also has served on several district committees. David is serving as chair of our club, which is the title of president of a satellite club. So David's effectively our president. And David is the reason I became a Rotarian. And together we live in North Carolina. Peter George Smith was born in Jamaica and has lived in several countries while serving in the Jamaican Diplomatic Corps. Peter's business career has focused on the financial services sector, and he holds a doctorate in business administration. And although he talks about retiring, he continues to work as a management consultant and as a professor for PhD students. Peter has been in Rotary for about 3 years and has already served as club president. Now a US citizen living in South Florida, Peter's connections in Jamaica remain deep, and it's his passion for service in the region that was a spark for this new club. So let's welcome David and Peter to update us on our primary service project this year. Take it away, guys.
Can you start the slide deck, Marie? You're muted.
Sorry, I had too much open. Go ahead.
Where is it?
I guess I didn't share my screen. Sorry.
I'm going to assume you guys aren't in the same room.
That's a good assumption.
Good assumption.
We do not share office space. This is the key to a happy marriage.
I asked that question and I just figured I'd go ahead and ask why you're putting it up. I'm going to mute now.
Okay, Maureen, you can be quiet for the rest of the morning. Okay, so what we want to do this morning is to update you on our first project. For those of you who don't know, we have adopted, if you will, the Lister Mair Gilby High School for the deaf in Jamaica. It's the only registered high school in Jamaica for deaf students. And Peter and I have visited the school twice, and Marie has been there once. And they have a lot of needs. Jamaica is a relatively poor country. It's the second poorest country in the Caribbean behind Haiti. And while the government recognizes the need for education, they sometimes struggle to be able to fund what is really necessary. So we've adopted this school, and we're, over the next several years, our hope is that we can enhance the educational experience for deaf children. And we're going to talk a little bit about deaf culture in Jamaica, as well as the school itself. Next slide, please. So I want to start this by talking about a graduate from the Lister Mair Gilby High School. I found this young lady on the internet. Her name is Shana K. Goodman. Excuse me for a second. Shana is a graduate of the high school, as I said, and she talks about her education experience and the struggles she had as a deaf person in Jamaica. She was born deaf and grew up with a disability. And this, I'm quoting her words now, and that journey was not easy for me. At age 12 years old was the first time I explicitly remember being affected by stigma, mocking, and discrimination. I was not unique in this because this is something that happens to deaf people across Jamaica. So there is a real stigma and a real struggle. But as you'll find out in a moment or two, despite all of these struggles, Shana Kay was able to graduate from the University of West Indies, but it was a real struggle. So next slide, Marie, please. So would you click your mouse one more time, Marie? This is animated. So deaf and hard of hearing in Jamaica range from 20 to 40,000 individuals. It's about 1 to 1.5% of the population. And it may be as high as 200,000 in Jamaica, about 7% of the population. The largest deaf populations are in Kingston, which is on the right. There's a red and blue circle around Kingston. Mandeville in the south central area, Montego Bay in the northwest, and there's a genetically deaf population in St. Elizabeth. And that genetic deafness may be one of the reasons why deafness is so prevalent in Jamaica. The Lister Mair Gilby School has 3 campuses. Their main campus is in Kingston. They have can you hit the mouse again, Marie? The other one is in Port Royal in the northeast coast. And
sorry, David, actually it's Port Antonio.
Oh, sorry, Port Antonio. I misspoke, Port Antonio.
Yeah.
And then Maypen in the south central in Clarendon Parish. They have about 128 students. Most of them are the main campus in Kingston, but they have additional students at the 2 other. Next slide, please, Marie. So deaf students often experience significant language challenges, and this causes delay in the development of knowledge of concepts, vocabulary, and expressive skills. And part of the challenge is that the structure of English language and Jamaican Sign Language have different rules of syntax and grammar. And Jamaican Sign Language is different from American Sign Language or British Sign Language. They're similar, but there are enough differences that you cannot necessarily speak them all if you speak one. And one of the problems with sign language in English is there are no specific signs for common words like is and are. And so it makes it a challenge to translate sign language to written English. And I'll get to it in a moment, but one of the things our computer supplies are going to do is to help these children to become fluent in English so that they can communicate, at least in a written word, with the general population. Next slide, please, Marie. So back to Shayna Kay. As I said, at age 12, she was the first time she remembers being explicitly discriminated against. And most of her life, she was force-fed that she was first her disability. First, she was a deaf person, and then a human. And attitudes towards deaf and disabled people in Jamaica, and I think in other countries too are often negative. They're considered dumb, stupid, or slow-minded. They're robbed, cheated, rejected, cursed, and abused because of the disability. And the worst part of growing up was being mocked and labeled a dummy. I'm going to do a little sidetrack for a second. Counseling is a big part of what the school does with children because they have all these psychosocial challenges. And one of their major projects that they would love us to undertake would be to build a guidance center so they can have a dedicated space for counseling children. I'm not sure we can reach that level, at least not, we won't do it for a while. It's probably $120,000 project, but right now we're still dreaming, and that's on the list. Anyway, next slide, Marie. Poor education leads to poverty. Deaf students usually have less than a 5th grade reading level when they graduate from secondary school. Few complete secondary school. As a result, few deaf people have professional employment. And more than half of the deaf community in Jamaica lives in poverty. Many are unemployed and find difficulty in finding jobs. One of the networking in Jamaica is a big way that you find opportunities, you find jobs, and it's hard to network when you can't hear and probably can't speak English. You can sign, but the other person can't understand what you're saying. So this, being born deaf is a major impediment to a productive life. And so next slide, Marie. Back to Shayna Kay. She wanted to take the SAT exams online. And when she applied, she made it clear that she was deaf and she would need to have someone to interpret for her when she took the exam. And she showed up for the examination and there was no interpreter. Interpreters in college are extremely rare. I think we know of two. That's just what we know of in Jamaica. The colleges are trying to address that, but so far they haven't been able to do it. So she couldn't take the SAT exam. And so they suggested that she applied to the University of West Indies for a radiology program to get some experience and even to volunteer first. But because of her deafness, she was rejected for that also because there was no communication support. And so it was very frustrating. I'm pleased to say that Sheena Kay managed to overcome those hurdles, and she did graduate from the University of West Indies. But it was a struggle. Next slide, Marie. So what can our computer donation help do? So the plan right now is, and let me say up front, the school is telling us what they need. We are not telling the school what they need. It's very important, I think, when we work with people in other countries, that we meet their needs and not just do what we think would be best for them. So the school has asked for 22 computers, and I think if I remember, it's 15 desktops and 7 laptops. And they will use those in all 3 locations, all 3 campuses. And then they've asked for 9 projectors for classroom use. They already have screens and other things they need for projectors. One of the universities in Jamaica has developed a custom software program called UTouch 2. It's a program that combines Jamaican Sign Language and English language and teaches children how to read and understand English. So with the provision of these computers, basically all of the students in the school will have access to learning English, which will help them to enhance their reading and comprehension skills. Next slide, Marie. They also want to provide access to online learning resources. The school does have an internet connection. School does have an internet connection, although it is very slow. One of the things we'd like to look at in the future is, can we upgrade that connection? They do have an internal wireless network, which functions well. They have an existing server, which is about 20 years old, but it's still functioning. So if they have the computers, they have access to the internet. They also want to teach the kids to do software coding and website coding. Those are the kinds of skills you can use without necessarily having to be able to hear or communicate frequently, at least with others. And you know, so these simple provision of computers, I mean, everyone on this call right now has a computer. That's not true in Jamaica. You know, and I think most people on this call would think nothing is spending $500 or $1,000 to buy a new computer. That's just, it's a dream in Jamaica. So by doing this, I think we can meet a real need. Next slide, Marie. So where are we? Click the button, Marie. So we are compiling a list of possible corporate and individual sponsors to help us raise money for this and other projects. Right now, we're working with a local to North Carolina 501c3 church who have agreed to partner with us, and they would handle donations to the club so that individuals and corporations can get a US tax deduction for the donation. And we have created a North Carolina foundation. It's already in existence, and we plan to apply next week for IRS 501c3 status, so that we will have our own club foundation and people can make donations directly to the club. Click the mouse again, Marie. Peter has been researching and discussing with various shipping companies the possibility of getting reduced price or free shipping from the US to Jamaica. And he has been working with the National Education Trust in Jamaica to avoid import taxes. Because this is a donation to an educational institution, there is a method to import the equipment into Jamaica without paying taxes. So we're working to, and we know what the mechanism is. So we're, including that in our plans. Next click, Marie. So how will this work out? Well, while in Jamaica, we have already been invited by the principal of the school to make a presentation to the school, to the staff and the students, about our club and about our commitment to Lister Mair Gilby. It's a big deal in Jamaica to build rapport and relationships. They have so many instances of individuals and groups who have come in from the outside, made all kinds of big promises, and then disappeared. So I think we need to be aware of that, and we need to continue to build our relationship with the school. And I think being able to make a presentation and to take questions will certainly help that effort. We also have a partner Rotary Club in Jamaica. It's the Rotary Club of Kingston East and Port Royal. That's the RCKEPR. And we met with them earlier this month to talk about our needs for their support. On the ground support. Maybe someone will have to go down to the take receipt of the computers when they arrive. Things like that. One more mouse click, Marie. And we have a potential partnership with another Rotary Club here in North Carolina. It's the Rotary Club of South Granville County. This is a club that for many years now has been working with schools in Nicaragua. And once we get past the computer project and into some of the other projects, which are more construction and repair type projects, this small Rotary Club has extensive experience in doing these kind of projects with schools in Nicaragua. And one of the club members is an architect. And so his expertise would be very useful as we move further ahead. I'm making a presentation to this club in about 2 weeks. We've already had some discussions. They are very interested in partnering with us, I think. So we're trying to use the Rotary network and magnify the effort of this little group. Next slide, Marie. So the project we're talking about cost approximately $20,000 to $22,000. We've raised $11,000 so far, so we still have to raise another $9,000 to $11,000. But let me amend that. Through another example of Rotary networking, I took receipt of a projector last month, and I played with it, and I'm very impressed with it. And it cost $50 on Amazon. We have been budgeting $450 for projectors. So I think we can buy these computers and save ourselves over $4,000 in the cost of the project. So we now need to raise between $5,000 and $7,000. We've also decided to delay implementation. We had originally wanted to implement in November, December. But we decided to put that off to January, February. Give us a little bit more time to raise funds. And something I had not considered, November, December is hurricane season in the Caribbean. And so we would like to avoid that. And also it's high season. So by delaying till January or February, we can save some costs in airfares and hotel costs, etc. So right now the plan is to deliver the computers in January or February. And we will, as a group, anyone who's interested, we will go to Jamaica and visit the school. We need to work out the details of what we do, because one of our premises is that whatever we do, there needs to be hands-on component to that project. So, what do you do when you're handing over, 22 computers? There's not much hands-on there. But we've talked with the Rotary Club of Kingston East and Port Royal. They've got a number of projects. We could work with them in one of their projects. We could do beautification projects around the school. We're looking at options. But I think for this first effort, just meeting the staff and the students would be beneficial for everyone. Get a much better personal feel for what's going on. Next slide, Marie. So in terms of our priorities, if some of you don't know, I used to be a project manager. And so I kind of put my project manager hat on and ask, well, what are our priorities for the club right now? We're brand new. And I think we need to increase our membership. We now have 9 full-time members and 3 affiliates. If you want to call an affiliate a part-time member, it's more than that. But we need to get 20 full-time active members. And we'd like to do that by the end of this year, by December. So that's the first part. The second part is we need to identify sponsors. The financial needs for this year are doable, I think. But when we look at some of the future projects, we're going to need to be able to raise money. So we need to identify sponsors. Want to complete the filings for the 501c3 application. I now do have an employee identification number, so I can go ahead now and file with the IRS sometime next week. And then we want to identify shipping companies to help us reduce costs and determine logistics and the details for the project next year. Oh, Jerry Brown left and came back. Anyway, so next slide, Marie. So that's what I had to say. It's a little bit rushed, a little bit rambled. I apologize, but are there any questions? Marie, would you leave that up?
Sorry, I have tech challenges.
No questions. All crystal clear. Clear as mud. Click your mouse, Marie. So, does this kind of project meet your expectations? I mean, we sold, if you like, this club as wanting to get involved in humanitarian projects in the Caribbean, initially in Jamaica. So as we form the club and as we begin to move forward, we being the founders, want to make sure that the club is meeting your needs. We want you to feel involved, motivated, whatever. So
yeah, I have a few comments on that. So yeah, thanks for that presentation. I thought it was pretty detailed in terms of what I was impressed with most is obviously quite a lot of background work has been done in understanding some of the, as you mentioned, the cultural nuances, I guess I could, for want of a better word, just the kind of things that may work better and not work in that particular community. So that was that made me excited to know that, as you said, a lot of times projects are done with the best of intentions, but because of a lack of understanding of maybe the real challenges or the communication issues that may come up, it isn't as successful as it should be. So yes, definitely. I have no doubt. I have some awareness of the deaf community because I have a close relative in Jamaica who is she's hearing impaired. Fortunately, she's a professional, so she's able to deal with it. But it has made me much more aware of the wider community there. And yeah, I'm certainly really interested in seeing where this project can go. So thank you very much.
David,
Thank you,
let me say, first off, I thought it was a great presentation. This is close to my heart. My youngest daughter, although she's not deaf, does have a hearing impediment in her left ear. As a matter of fact, she has a degree in, I can't get it straight. Basically, it deals with hearing loss and speech impediments, and is currently teaching, or a teacher's assistant working on getting her master's in speech pathology. So this is close to me. My only question is, I don't know that it may be, as you well know, I'm getting ready to have my first knee replacement and have another one. So I won't be able to travel for a couple of years. But having said that, I'm very much interested if I can provide support back here in the States. I'm very open to doing whatever I can in support. I'm very much interested in this. And I thought it was a great presentation, by the way. Particularly, I did not know, and I can't wait for her to get home for me to ask this. I didn't realize there was these differences in American Sign Language, British Sign Language, and Jamaican Sign Language. I can see where that could be a huge barrier. I just assumed erroneously it was all the same, and we've never discussed that. So that was very enlightening.
I'm smiling because Sarah has a daughter who will be 14 later this year. Happens to be my granddaughter.
Right.
And we plan to take her with us when we go. And her dad decided to teach her sign language so that she could communicate. But he started teaching her American Sign Language.
Right.
Until, I explained that they were different. And so they switched to Jamaican. And I think they are seeing the differences, but yeah, I don't know what the difference is. I cannot sign. I cannot understand signing. I have been told by Miss Dockery, the school principal, that if you really want to learn sign language, it has to be an interactive process. You can't really do it online.
I want to bring this to her attention because she actually can teach sign language. That's she minored in that, and she probably already knows this. By the way, she'll look at me like, well, you're just an old man in dotage anyway. You never keep up with what's going on. But
I resemble that remark.
So, but yeah, thank you very much. I'm very much interested, and I'll provide as much support as I possibly can back in the States till I'm able to travel. So, and I like
you, Jerry.
Yes.
Fantastic. Yeah, just to add, talking about the sign language, Miss Dockery. Well, David, we've learned a couple of signs, to say hello and so on. But I was talking with her, and she said that if anybody's interested in learning a bit more, then she would be willing to do some coordination, right? Whether online or whichever method we want to use. But overall, though, in terms of this project, I'm really excited about it too, because the background that you gave about how marginalized the community is in Jamaica. And I know that things have been changing, over the years, getting much better, but we still have a far way to go in Jamaica. And I think what we're doing now is fundamental to the long-term view that we have about working with the school. We're looking at sustainable projects where we start with the basics, fundamentals, and then we move on. Because one of the things I've found too is sometimes organizations do projects which are one-off, but pretty much after that, there's no real application and there's no real next step to make sure that whatever is done is actually integrated and fully functioning and helping to do what was set out to be done in the beginning, right? So I'm super excited now about working with the school on an ongoing basis. One of the things I love too about visiting the school is how involved everybody is. If you guys remember Marie and Howard, when we went, everybody was interested in talking with us about the projects. Even the lady who kept the place clean, she was very involved with us. And that's the beauty about it. So overall, we're talking about working on this project, but I can see from my interaction with everybody so far that we're going to be able to have a lot of fun, doing it, right? Meeting new people, learning new things. And this is what is going to make the project light, as it were. I mean, we're working heavily now on getting sponsors, etc. But I know that we're going to have a lot of fun, which will make it so very smooth, I think, going through. So I'm super excited about this project.
Yeah, and we didn't really talk about it much today, but part of this is to learn about the cultures that we're going to. So we will make a real effort to do some touring, to experience the local cuisine so that we understand the culture more effectively than we do right now. And I would agree with Peter. He kind of laughs at me as I say, well, I just love the Caribbean culture. He says, well, that's how we are. Yeah, so they are fun-loving and have a good time. And so we are learning to adopt some of that Caribbean attitude, at least a bit while we're there. I also wanted to mention in passing that Rotary projects are funded through our foundation, and one of the requirements, especially when you're talking a lot of money, is to address sustainability and to address community assessment. So as we move forward with bigger projects, if we decide we'd like to apply for these bigger grants, we will need to be rigorous to determine the real needs of the community and how the projects will be sustainable. And while that is important to us now, it will be even more important that we are attentive to those aspects of the projects.
Marie, can you click your mouse button 2 more times? So I'm kind of a charge ahead type guy. And I sometimes feel a little frustrated with the slow pace, but I realize that is necessary. But again, I want to make sure that everyone understands that we are moving. We're in a startup phase, and it takes some time. And the question is, are you comfortable with this pace? Nobody's saying no. If you're not comfortable, stick up your hand. Okay, and is there anything else you would like to see us doing locally or in Jamaica? We've given some thought to local project, and we've got members around the world. But we've given thought to some little projects we could each do in our own location. But if you have ideas, you have thoughts, I mean, please share them so that we can work them into what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, as we grow the club, we're expecting to have more membership from the Caribbean, not just of individuals, but corporations as well. And in terms of the projects, one of the things that we'll be doing is to actively ask people to actively scout our projects and present them so that we can all discuss them and see which ones rise to the top that we would want to take care of. So there are a couple of things which I have in mind, but I'll wait until I manage to get them fleshed out a bit more to present, to put on the table so that we can have them for consideration for the future.
And I'd encourage everyone to do that. If you have ideas or thoughts, please share them. Feel comfortable, share them.
Mm-hmm.
Marie, move on to the next slide, please. Oh, well, is there anything we shouldn't do? I wanted to bring up one more thing. I think it was on our first visit to the school, which was pretty intense. We went through a whole list of projects, but one of the things that was mentioned and almost fell through the cracks was an ongoing need for hygiene supplies. And I've been looking into that a little bit, and I have confirmed that if we buy supplies at Amazon.com, they can ship directly to the school in Jamaica. So if we wanted to get involved in providing some supplies to the school, that would be an easy way to do it. And Ms. Dockery, the principal, sent me a list of supplies, and you can see for yourself, they're routine, hand sanitizer, sanitary napkins, underwear, hygiene products, face rags, nail clipper, And we've also discovered we may be able to partner with 2 other organizations who will match our donations. One of those organizations is here in the US, and one is in Jamaica. And so whatever we do, we could triple the result. And I guess I wanted to ask if people would be willing to spend $10 a month per head. And once a month, we could send a package to Jamaica, to the school. And hopefully we can have that matched by one or both of the other organizations. Is that something you would be interested in?
I would.
Yes.
$10 a month, we can buy $100 worth of sanitary supplies or hygiene supplies. And I know that some of these, sanitary napkins are very expensive. And as I said before, Jamaica is a very poor country, and these deaf students are at the low end of that financial spectrum. So we've also been asked not to ignore the teachers. While the teachers are very dedicated and committed, Ms. Dockery thought she was being pushy, but she said, an occasional some kind of recognition to the teachers would go a long way to motivating them. So, I mean, I would like to suggest that we do that. And I'm kind of looking, I think most people are on board.
Yes.
Yes,
I mean,
yes, David,
we,
absolutely.
can I go back to Ms. Dockery and say, yes, we will, at least for the foreseeable future, we'll do a monthly package of some kind for the school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
David, can I ask a question?
Sure.
It kind of reminded me, I think, when I was involved in, I think I'd mentioned the first meeting I was involved in, we were running medical clinics in Honduras, every year. And one thing that we did actually, it was that people were always interested, generally, people who wanted to help, do a little something here and there, were always interested in helping with this type of thing. It resonates with most people. I'm just wondering, like, I not to create like an extra huge amount of work or anything, like we could do a monthly thing, but I wonder if it's also something that maybe twice a year we could actually maybe create just a little flyer or something that we could send out to people who are interested in what we're doing, but not necessarily Rotary Club members, etc., who would be interested in maybe going on Amazon and purchasing certain supplies, that could be sent. I do see that people do that a lot. So I just thinking out loud.
I don't see any problem with that. And I think anything we can do. I mean, it astounds me that I mean, the demographic we went after in forming this club is mid to late career, so that they have time and they have money. And it astounds me that, we can think of spending $50 or $100 for something. And in Jamaica, that's just a dream to so many people.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people out there that, I just speaking of kind of, how generally people are busy, they're working, they've got, their million commitments, they still want to do something. And this is a very easy, low hanging fruit thing for people to do for others. And it makes such a big difference.
And I think it's easy enough with, like, PayPal, for example. We can set up a QR code so that people can use the QR code and make a donation to the club, and we can.
Yeah, I was just going to say that we, because we're a satellite club, all of our finances run through our parent club. So we'll probably, for this ongoing, and it puts a burden on their treasurer, right, who is an employed person in a very busy job. So if anything we can do to reduce the impact on him will be beneficial. So we probably will set this project up as a PayPal. It'll probably come to me, and we'll just run it through us personally until we are established as a standalone club, and we can take on that burden of administration ourselves.
Okay.
But we'll put this together.
Yeah, we will work on this, and we will put it together, and I will communicate back to the school that what we're planning to do in a general sense, and then we'll see how it develops.
Yeah. Well, one quick thing too, David, sorry, about payment, because I just managed to set up, for them, or help them to set up a facility for accepting payments. That is the school itself. So let's say, for example, we're working with a local organization where the school can actually pay locally, because there are some benefits maybe to purchasing locally as well. They have this facility now where they can accept funds directly from us. The Friends Association I'm a part of, we are donating some stuff for a student there, some funds. And we simply go online, there's a platform there, just send the payments and it goes directly to the bursar there. So I will share more information about that later on.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks.
And that might be just beneficial, especially for small repetitive donations like these. In some cases, the shipping might be as much as the value. So in some cases, it might make sense to purchase locally for sure.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons why I thought of Amazon, because shipping is free.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, we're down to less than 10 minutes, and I still have at least two other things that I want to quickly cover. So can we wrap up this session and move on, or any other discussion? Okay, Marie, can you move on? Oh, let's just skip this for today. Just click through this. This was just a list of the longer term projects. I came across this little thing, and it's kind of common sense, but interacting with the deaf, some do's and don'ts. And I can provide this electronically to everybody, but it's pretty, make sure you get their attention before you start talking to them, because they need to see, what you're doing, etc. And if you move on to the next slide, there's a list of don'ts, and some of those are pretty straightforward too. But some of them maybe not so obvious, like, don't switch to a new topic without warning, because they're trying to follow what you're saying. So you want to actually have a break and say, and now I want to talk about, and move on anyway. So I will send this to everybody electronically. Next slide, Marie. Next slide. Next slide. Okay. One of the things, in terms of fellowship and friendship that we want to do is to recognize events that we want to celebrate each month. And so for August and September, recognize the birthdays. Suzanne Botts, I think Suzanne had to drop off, but she's an affiliate member. Her birthday was on August 7th. Sarah Duffy was on August 8th. Maureen was on August 14th. And then Sarah also has a wedding anniversary in September 20th. It will be her 15th anniversary. And I guess Marie has a Rotary anniversary, September 1st, for 12 years ago. So congratulations to everybody. For those of you who are a year older, you have my sympathy and empathy. But next slide, Marie. Because everyone is so new to Rotary, or most people are new to Rotary, part of what we want to try and do is to provide some education around Rotary so that people become more familiar with the global Rotary organization, because it's actually pretty astounding. So one of the things we'd like to do as part of your orientation package, you're supposed to learn how to get to the Rotary International website and how to get to the Learning Center. And any of us existing Rotarians will be happy to help you get there if you don't know how to get there. But what we'd like to do is have you take two of these courses. One is called Rotary Basics. It takes about 15 minutes to complete. And the other one is Rotary Foundation Basics, which takes about 45 minutes to complete. And then on September 30th, we'd like to have a group discussion about those two courses, about what you've learned or thoughts or whatever, just to provide a little bit of education. And the other thing we're planning to do, and we did not do it today because we knew we had a pretty full program, each week we're going to have something we're going to call a Rotary moment. It will probably be a little video or a short story about Rotary or the Rotary Foundation. If you go digging around on the web, you will find hundreds, if not thousands, of Rotary International videos about the programs that Rotary. So we're going to cherry pick from some of those and provide a little short burst of education every week, and we'll start that at our next meeting. One more slide, Marie. As I said, the number one priority is to grow our membership. Please, if you know people who have a heart for service, please invite them to come attend some of our meetings, find out what we're about. One more slide, Marie.
And let me just say, if you do have potential members, give me their basic information, their name, email, and mobile phone. I'll put them on our distribution list so they'll get invited to our meetings.
So upcoming meetings, there is no meeting next week. It's Labor Day in the US. September 9th, we have a past district governor, Rick Carnegie. 10 years ago, when Rick was being trained as a district governor, he met up with a district governor from the Dominican Republic. Every year, Rotary brings all of the incoming governors together for training, for a week-long training. And those two started talking, and they came up with a project for the Dominican Republic. And they started building latrines for people who had poor sanitation. And over the last 10 years, that has morphed into broader sanitation projects. And now they're actually building houses for the unhoused in the Dominican Republic. And this is a joint project between our district. It's gone from being a single club to being a district project and a district in the Dominican Republic. And I would like to dream this can be a model for what this club can do in the future. And so we've asked Rick if he would come and talk about the history of the project and how it evolved. September 16th, we have no meeting because there is a district assembly in Cary, North Carolina, for those who can attend. And so rather than being two places at one time, we'll just cancel our meeting. September 23rd, every year the district governor visits every club. On September 23rd, District Governor Veronica will be visiting our club, and the program will be hers. And then September 30th, Peter's going to tell us all about himself. Little thing called I Am. Basically, we're going to give each of you over the next year, an opportunity to tell us whatever you want to tell us about yourself. So that's all I have. Are there any other questions, thoughts, ideas, feedback?
It's
Rotten
10 o'clock.
tomatoes. It
Are
is
we
10
going to
o'clock.
adjourn with the
Yeah,
four-way test?
Yeah, we're going to adjourn with the four-way test. The four-way test is like a motto for Rotarians, and it is supposed to guide us in everything we do in our lives. So of the things we think, say, or do, 1, is it the truth? 2, is it fair to all concerned? 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Have a great week. We will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you all for attending.